to record.
Okay.
We are
You really
recording.
should have
Hi.
told us that. You should have just pressed the button.
Okay, fine. I have pressed the button, Atom. Listeners, this is going to be our most informal episode yet. There's not going to be even an intro. Welcome to another episode of whatever this is. You know whatever this is. It is whatever this is. This week, I'm joined by two people. First of all, we have my co-host, the usual Mystic Mac. Artem, what's up? How you doing? How's the vibes?
Finally.
What's up?
Finally, I've gained the title of co-host.
You have gained the title, of course. And that little laughing voice. We have another very, very special guest, an extremely special guest. You may see on the screen right now, we have Sportrex on. We actually got Mr. Sportrex to join us, the Don Sportrex himself. Sarthak Sahai. He's representing. He's a. I'm gonna let him introduce himself as well. But he's like the global business director or something similar. Sorry for butchering your title.
No, it's all cool. Thank you for having me on this show, guys. I'm a fan, as you know, as you're well aware, and I've been asking both Hanu and Artyom for a long time. Please bring me on, but finally you agreed. So thank you for that. I am the international sales director at Sportrex, but actually I have my own arena as well. It's called, you can actually find it on sportrex.com/chase. If you're ever interested, or if you don't have anything more boring and you would like to be bored more, do look up my arena.
Yeah, well, so Sarthak does like interviews with people in the sport industry. They are pretty good. They are really good. I've watched all of them. They're really good. But what was episode 3? Why did you just go to episode 4 from 2? Or was there a 3?
No. We have 3. We on episode 3. I had, if I'm not mistaken,
okay.
Sunando
Yeah.
Dar, the CEO of leagues, AIFF. So that's like I League, ISL, all the leagues.
Yeah. And of course, for me as an Indian, it's very special to have an Indian on the podcast. Sarthak, to my knowledge, is like the only Indian person working in Russian football or working in like the sport industry in that region. So he's repping for us. He also speaks Chinese.
Thank you.
He has a Chinese name. Tell the people about your Chinese name and how
so
it
my
came
Chinese name, as I was telling you guys, it's actually One Long. Long means dragon in Chinese, but One is actually a family name. So I honestly cannot now remember, and it's really annoying, but it's really interesting how I came up with this name, though I can't remember it. And it literally means nothing. So every time I introduce myself in China, everyone's shocked that I speak Chinese. And then they just ask me the same question, but what does your name mean?
I don't know either.
Well, why did you have to make up a new name?
I didn't have to make up a new name, but if you can imagine, if Sarthak is difficult for Russians to pronounce, then you can imagine what the Chinese felt like. So, and to be more local, I just had to have a Chinese name. Okay. You know, even Starbucks, for example, is Shinbake. Even McDonald's is Maidon Lao. Like everything has a Chinese name in China.
Oh, that's mad. I didn't know that.
But you know what, Artem? I've got a couple of mind-blowing facts for you and you specifically.
Okay,
Sarthak, he had to change his name to make it like a Chinese name. But what a lot of people in the Chinese-speaking world do, and they do it in Singapore, they do it everywhere, is that if your name is like Kwan Song Hang or anything like that, if you have a Chinese name, what they do is they replace like their given name with an English name. So their name will become like Johnny Wang. So
I know that. I had
so that's everyone does that in like the Chinese-speaking world. And
in my university in Hong Kong, I had a girl called, I don't know if it's appropriate to say it or not, but her name was Kinky Ho. Ho is a popular family name. Yeah, I'm not even kidding right now. Ho is a popular family name in Hong Kong.
No, yeah.
But I don't know why she chose the first name to be Kinky, but yeah.
That's the best podcast yet already.
But there was a
if you're listening, Kinky Ho, no offense. Sorry about that, but
I'm on the podcast.
Honestly, that's the best name I've ever heard.
There was a girl. Better ones.
There was a girl in my sports management course that her name was like Meng Zhu or something, but like she just knew everybody couldn't pronounce it, so she just goes, "Yeah, my name's Brittany," and everyone's like, "What?"
Yeah, no, they do that, and I'm jealous of them because they get to choose their name. That's mad. And like some people, because they probably like some people still go with really terrible names, so they'll be called like Wilbur or Bryce. Or like just something that's really old-fashioned, which no one likes. But
Hanu,
yeah.
If next time you go to Russia, you have to make yourself a new name. What's your new name going to be?
Jamaldin Khodzaniazov.
I think that one's taken already, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unfortunately.
It would definitely be something like Turkmenistani or something, just with mad syllables and mad just. It would definitely. I want to be Uzbekistani, like
See, that's
really
the
do.
power with that's the problem with democracy. When you have the power to choose, people tend to make crazy decisions.
So, and the other mind blowing fact, Artem, I have for you is Sarthak's name means something with meaning. Like the breakdown of that is that Sarthak, the word Sarthak means something which has a meaning or which has a good meaning. But his Chinese name actually doesn't have a meaning.
Yeah,
So
ironically.
yeah, I know. So we're getting
that's
into
that's just perfect. That is just perfect.
it is perfect. So he's going against his own name. Um, but people butcher my name a lot as well. It's really simple. Like it's pronounced Hanu, but white people just can't say that. Like there's
I
this.
did not know that the emphasis was on like the oo.
It is
I
Yeah.
just thought it was Hanu.
Yeah,
yeah.
to be honest, I also thought it was Hanu, even though I'm from India.
No, because Hanuman ka jo Hanu hai na, like we have a god. See,
Ah.
that's the correlation. We have a god in India called Hanuman, and my parents got real creative. They cut the man out and they just named it Hanu. And I love the name. I really do love it. It's a really unique name, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh,
Do
so
you
it's
know any
like
other Hanus?
I don't. I have never met a Hanu. Some people have it as like a nickname, but I've never met. Like people ask me 10 times, is that your real name? And I'm like, yes, it's my real name. Why is that so mad to you? But
that's
that
mad because I would have never thought that it was like a really like outlandish name. I would have thought it was like just a
No,
regular name.
I always wanted to ask you what it means, but I kept forgetting. Now finally I get it.
yeah,
I was,
it's the
but you know,
same thing.
it's still
Yeah.
this is a cool name. I met a guy yesterday at a conference whose name is Bentley, and somehow the first question I asked him was, "What do you drive?" I think
Obviously.
that was really inappropriate, but I just had
No,
to.
it wasn't. You just had to know.
And he said Honda.
He said, "I don't drive." I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's depressing. How your
That was a
name?
sponsorship waiting to happen.
Yeah. No, but my name is like Hanu is or Hanu or however you guys say it. It's still like I can still roll with that because it's not the worst. I've heard Indian people call me Hanu. One idiot when I was in fourth grade wrote my name with a U, so Hunu, because he
What?
thought that the A would mean that it's Hanu, which I hate. I still remember that guy to this day. So like Hanu is what it is. And even to Indian people, like when I break it down like that it's the short form of the god, it becomes really simple.
Yeah.
But before that, like on my first try, it's just impossible. People write all sorts of nonsensical stuff. If you're like, saying, "Hey, what's your name?" And you're like at the airport or like at the mall or something, wherever you need to write down the name. Um,
Though in Russian, your name would begin with the X, right?
it would,
So in
yeah, it's
Russian,
X
yeah,
A
that's cool.
H Y. It would, so it's like Khanu or Khan, and I'm fine with that. I would be a Khan. That's fine.
Oh yeah,
But
you could be Han. Yeah.
yeah. We have football. This is a football podcast, by the way.
Yes.
It is a football podcast. We've got 8.5 whole minutes of nomenclature and names and all sorts of stuff. Um, but Sarthak, tell us what team, if like how much football you watch, what team you support, how if you watched any games over the weekend or on like yesterday or the
Look,
day before.
I've been recently actually watching a lot of football, and I mean supporting a lot of Russian teams. Though when people ask me what's my favorite team, you won't get a very simple answer because, or let's say not the answer you expect. My favorite football team is actually Bengaluru, and very few
Right.
people know about that team, I guess, internationally. Though, um, yeah, I mean, I started the first ever football game that I went to in Russia in St. Petersburg of Zenit, and I instantly became a fan. Then I moved to Moscow, and for some reason, I've really fallen in love with Lokomotiv. I like the way they play.
Yeah, we have a couple of like some of our most ardent fans are Lokomotiv supporters, and they are great people. But what was the Zenit game you watched? Who was it
Ooh,
against?
um, look, I don't even remember now.
Was it was
I
it
don't
at the
even.
new stadium though? It was at the new
Yes,
stadium, right?
it was at the new stadium. Yes,
What year was it? 17,
this
18?
was okay. This was back in
The new stadium
2000.
only opened in 18, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was back in 2018. I'm trying to remember when.
The reason is because there's a
Tell
chance
me it was
that
October.
exactly because there's a chance that you two were at the same game because
Really?
yeah, no, because Artem went to like a couple of Zenit games in that year, and I don't know if you were at the same one, but if you throughout the course of this podcast somehow remember what it was, then let us know.
Tell me
I
something.
will.
Do you remember if Zenit won that game?
Yes, they did.
Okay, then it's not the
Okay,
same
no,
game.
it's not the same one,
We lost to Arsenal 12.
but that was a nice little minute of anticipation we had over there. But Artem, what games did you watch? We'll discuss the RPL first.
Just before we move on,
Yeah.
right? That kind of coincidence has happened to me before, right? Where there's this tennis coach who worked in the place. I used to work in a tennis club like 6 months ago for the last 3 years, and like I talked to this tennis coach once and again. Like he's Uruguayan, and like we talk sometimes about football, about tennis, whatever. I come back from the World Cup, and he was like, "Oh, I was just at the World Cup," and I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I was in this place called Samara," and I was like, "Oh, you're taking the piss out of me here." We were at the same game. Like, in fact, we were actually quite close to each other stand-wise as well. He was at the same game as me, Uruguay against Russia. We got smashed. But regardless,
Yeah.
that's just mental.
Yeah,
Artem,
I mean,
were you? My bad. Yeah, go on, Sarthak.
no, I'm saying it's crazy when that happens. It's never happened to me, but I've heard quite a few stories, and I would love for it to happen to me as well. Actually, it sounds insane.
Yeah, it does sound insane. Artem, were you born in Ireland or were you born in Samara or something?
No, I was born in Samara. I lived there for 3 years. Moved
Oh,
over to Ireland in 2001.
oh, man, I didn't know that. Respect. But did you watch any RPL games?
Um, I don't, but I can't remember. It feels like so long ago. Do you ever get that, like, because of the European football, everything just, like,
Yeah,
the league just takes a, like, second place? Anyway,
it does.
I don't remember any games, so I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say no.
But see, Sarthak was a bit concerned a couple of days ago. He was like, "Oh, you guys know a lot about football. You're going to embarrass me." We don't. We don't even watch half of it. It's just like, but there were a few mad results. Artem Khimki beat Krasnodar. Your Krasnodar, by the way, is now the capital of Russia. It's the best club in the world. But in the league, they're still trash. They lost to newly promoted Khimki, and we'll get into them in a minute in more detail.
Haider, can I ask you something?
Go on.
You know that bet we have, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. It's Sarthak, if you don't know this, right, me and Hanu have a bet. It's for Krasnodar to get into Europe next season. I said they will, and Hanu said they won't. Hanu, what if they win the Europa League? Do I win that bet?
I'll give you like any amount of money you want if they. I'll take a loan out or
Be
something if they
careful
win
there.
No, but still, no. That would be
But
mad. That would honestly be
but yeah,
mad.
that game itself was bad, right? I mean, Krasnodar had what 70% ball possession, and Himki had 30.
Yeah, that's what Krasnodar. They usually the one of those teams that really emphasize like good attacking football with a lot of the ball. But like it really exposes them when there's a team which is really physical, which is
Yeah.
just like it's so
How
it's
did Himki have more shots than Krasnodar? How did they have 12 shots with 26% possession? I don't think I've ever seen that.
that's how no it happens every week in a Krasnodar game. Don't say that. It happens
You know,
there.
though, so I'm looking up stats, and as per InStat, Himki had 10 shots with 4 on target, and Krasnodar had 8 with 1 on target. I am not sure.
It's still the
E-
difference. I mean,
Yeah,
just sort of
either way,
say.
that's still like that just means Krasnodar did nothing with their possession at all.
Yeah.
Sarthak, by the way, is also Don InStat. He was at InStat for a really long time, so he's actually one of those really. Do you like stats in football? What do you think about stats in football? Sarthak?
That's well, I was the sales director at InStat before I left and joined Sportrex.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, stats basically changed the entire game for me. I started seeing football in a different way. I started understanding it a lot better, but it spoiled the game completely for me. Because there was a time when I would literally watch a game and I would be focusing so much on what the stats are going to look like later
Yeah.
that I wouldn't be even in the game at times.
I'm
Right.
so glad you said that because I think that like me and Hanu have been saying this for a while, that like stats have gone too far in football. Like
Yep.
things like XG, they don't tell you anything. Like I
Uh,
really don't think they tell you anything about the game. Like
I'm not a big fan of XG. Actually, well, it's funny to say this, but I'm I'm the guy who actually brought this madness about XG at InStat, because at a point I was really amazed by it, but then I quickly understood that it's not really as awesome as it seemed.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. XG, the man who brought XG to the
I'm
largest
sorry. I'm
platform in the
sorry
world.
about that. Yeah,
you
I'm
know
And
what
sorry
though?
about
saying that XG is trash, so stop using it. Look, we have
that.
like proper source telling us that XG is trash, so stop using it. But yeah, go on,
Hanu,
Artem.
that was the literally perfect what you just said. Exactly. The person who brought it into popularity is saying that it's trash. So it's trash. Just
It is
if
trash.
like please like even I'm playing FM these days, FM 21, and it has XG in it, and I'm just like this tells me absolutely nothing. Like
Yeah.
if I have a higher XG than the other team, if I've beaten the team on like 4-1 on XG, but I've actually lost 1-0, like I could have told you myself that I was unlucky in that game. It means nothing. We've
But on
lost
the
the game.
hindsight, that's amazing for betting companies, isn't it?
It's unbelievable because people will look at XG rather than actual results and be like, here, this is their week. This is when everything's going to come together. And
Mhm.
it just doesn't.
That's crazy. But going back to football for a little bit, we'll take a lot of detours. This might be a whole 3 hour podcast. It's fine, but we're enjoying it. Akhmat, by the way, Artem are going to Europe. Like, dread it, run from it. European football is coming to Chechnya next year. I read an article about how like they're a really good club, a really stable club. There's no like bureaucracy in politics like there is at Spartak and Zenit. They're a stable club with a good director of football, good scouts. So
Did you just say that there's no politics in a team run by
no,
Kadyrov?
but that's the thing. Ra- Are we allowed to break up Ramzan Kadyrov? Is that like
Hang on. Don't say we. I'm not picking him up.
okay? Am
Yeah,
I?
I'm sorry. I got lost for a second there. My connection, there's some issue. No, I'm kidding. Carry on.
That's fine. But like, though, but that's crazy, isn't it? The Artem is that like Ramzan Kadyrov is their guy, and they're still stable. Like he does play his nephews or sons, whatever. They're always in the squad. But like overall, he's pretty reserved. So you have to give him credit there.
He's
Um,
pretty reserved. Do
Fam,
you
he's
not
not,
remember
he's
that?
not. I don't
Do you,
care.
do
He's
you-
not making team decisions, though. You see, it's fine if you get on the loudspeaker once in a while and just say something in
and
this
call the
game.
referee a fucking what was it, a pig or a goat or something like that?
But that has nothing to do with the squad, though.
You know what's so funny? It was actually a goat. If he called the referee a goat in these days, it would mean a completely different thing.
Yeah, exactly. It would mean a completely different thing.
Anyway,
But
anyway,
Akhmat,
no,
Akhmat, the truth.
Ahmad are just it destined to be 8th to 10th place in the league every season, and I don't want to see them anywhere other than that.
Nah, that's disrespectful. Ufa finally won a game, 4-0 against Tambov. What a game this was! Some like proper amazing goals scored in this. Tambov are not going to survive probably, but Ufa, I hope that they do. We'll get into them in a second because it seems like their people might be coming back. Rostov beat Dinamo 4-1. Now this is XG, right? Dmitry Polov scored a hat trick. He touched the ball 7 in this game in 90 minutes. He completed 5 passes, took 3 shots, and scored a hat trick. Like, and XG would have shown him that it would be really high XG, whatever it was. And Koren Baramian scored again, obviously, after I jinxed him. He's become the best player. He got awarded with the Player of the Month award. Um, Sarthak, what's the best stadium in Russia, you think?
Um, I'm still. I would say for me, I
Yeah.
can't say the best, but my favorite would still be the arena in St. Petersburg.
That's fair. Because see, Rostov, Dynamo, both of these clubs have like that's what came into my mind. Rostov have a really nice arena.
Yeah,
Dynamo
they do.
has really nice arena.
You know
Uh,
what? For just away from this for a second. For me, right, the best looking stadium from the outside is CSKA's.
mhm.
I think that like architecturally that is the most beautiful stadium in Russia. but inside it just looks so dark. And you ever look at the games, it just looks really dull.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
the Zenit Stadium is just beautiful in every
But
way.
surprisingly, the first game ever that I went to in the Zenit Stadium, actually the roof was leaking.
No
So
way.
the seat next to me was completely like a pool, and it was just we were mind boggled as to the amount of money spent on the stadium and then the end result.
A
But they
whole
they
billion
somehow pulled it
dollars.
through. You know, it was okay till the World Cup.
There was actually with that Zenit Stadium, I think there was a thing. I think it was recently. It was like maybe a year ago where the roof is covered with solar panels, right? And the thing was that a lot of pigeons would go on the roof, and you know how pigeons are. So
Yeah.
they had to figure a way out to like get rid of those pigeons because the roof would just be covered with like mad pigeons just quacking and cooing. But I've only watched one European football game live, and that was at the CSKA stadium. It was freezing by Indian standards, and we had to walk the whole way around the stadium because we thought that you couldn't get into like we
Hanu,
wouldn't
what
want
is freezing according to Indian standards? What temperature was it?
anything
20
but
degrees Celsius.
no, it was not. It was like it was cold. It was cold. It was 2 or 3, um, 2 or 3 degrees Celsius. But like Indian standards, like anything below 10 is cold. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But by white standards, 20 degrees is hot. 20 degrees is the summer for the West. So
You know
uh,
what's weird though? Like in Ireland, right, it gets to like three degrees or something. I think it was 3 degrees today, and it's just freezing. Like it feels like I was in Samara last year. It was minus 15 at some stage, and it feels it's so windy.
mhm, that's
And the
fair.
summer somehow feels hotter as well. I feel like our thermostats aren't working in this country.
Yeah, if you ever want good, just go to St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean it's
thankfully someone got the joke. Okay, thank you.
you know what though? You know what though? I'm going to St. Petersburg next summer. Hopefully,
May God favor you.
If the Euros are going to go ahead with fans and stuff like that, I cannot wait to see what is it? Is it called the White Nights? The fact that like it
Yep,
just doesn't get dark. That's so
yep.
sick. I'm really looking forward to that.
Imagine exactly. Imagine going for a game, then celebrating after it, reaching home, trying to fall asleep, and it's still
Yeah, I
day.
feel like that it'll be good for the photos for a day, and then it just get annoying. Like where's the moon? Just go dark. I want to sleep. Like,
It
it would
doesn't
be.
though. What gets annoying during the White Nights is the fact that the damn bridge is open and you can't cross to the other island. So you have
Oh
to go
yeah.
around and it takes you like hours.
For the World
That's St.
Cup, they had
Petersburg.
for the World Cup they had 24/7 on metro stations, didn't they?
Yep. Yep.
Do you think they'll do the same thing for the St. Petersburg Euros? I think they might.
Are the Euros even happening in St. Petersburg?
Yeah, because like they're one of the host cities. It looks like the vaccine's going to be rolled out, so I think most likely it'll
It'll
go
be fun.
ahead.
I hope so.
It would be fun. But let's get off the RPL and actually move back to like Champions League and things that we care about. Ruben beat CSK. I think it's worth mentioning because Dvorkovich came on in the 56th minute. He was injured. He came back, scored a goal a minute later, and then got subbed off again like 20 minutes later because of another injury. But Dvorkovich, I think, is one of the signings of the summer, free transfer, and really good.
Did you just
So
say let's get off the RPL and then talk about an RPL game?
yeah, that's what I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's what I do.
Standard trolling. It's all right.
It is, yeah. See, Sarthak knows. He's been with us for 24 minutes, but he knows. Uh, now, Sarthak, you know what? You're lucky because this is the this is the first time this podcast is so overwhelmingly positive because we actually have a good result to talk about this week. For the past 6 to 7 weeks, every like the podcast just is we lost again, Russia is trash again, 22 wins, 22 games without a win in Europe. This week we finally had a win, but we'll start with the negativity first. Now you're a Lokomotiv fan, Sarthak. Take us through this
Oh,
Salzburg game.
there's nothing to take anyone through this game. I mean, it was just I don't even know where to begin. Well, everything seemed perfect when that penalty happened. And I was like, finally, yes, something is gonna changed now, and a lot changed after that. Just everything went to trash.
2 minutes later, man scored.
Yeah, I mean, it was look, the counter was just on spot by Salzburg all day long, right? And all they needed to do was to just have that opportunity, which they had so many times, and they converted. So hats off to them. Loko need to pay more attention.
You know what the crazy thing was? The starting formation. I don't know. I don't know if you took a look at that, or when you started
Yeah,
watching the
I
game.
think it was what 3-5-2.
No, it wasn't 3-5. It looks they played like a 3-5-2, but they had 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 5 centre backs starting.
It
They
was
had
a
seven.
7-0-3.
It was a 7-0-3. They had no midfield.
Yeah.
There is one proper midfielder in this team, and it was just 3 strikers. You've got like 6 defenders, 1 midfielder, and 3 strikers. And then it clearly didn't work out, so he subbed off like 3 players at halftime, the manager. And the goals they conceded as well was like 2 of them were really preventable goals. How do you have 6 defenders and manage to concede like the worst possible goals? It's Russian football for you.
You know what it is? It's one of those things where like there's just a crowd, and it's like everyone's expecting the other guy to get it done, and then no one actually gets it done.
Yeah,
And
we saw
by getting
real,
it done, I mean marking.
we saw real Rajkovic, by the way, Artem again, bottling.
Flashes
That
of
was
excellence.
yeah.
You know,
Go
though,
on.
Ribus was actually positive in the game. I actually quite enjoyed the game when he had the ball.
He is, to be fair. You know what? Even in the Polish national team, people say that he's a really important player for them. So I mean, he is a good player. That can't be denied. By the way, we are currently recording as the CSKA game in the Europa League is going on. They are losing 1-0 to Wolfsburg. If they lose this game, they are out of Europe.
I'm pretty sure even if they draw, they're out.
Probably. They made a lot of changes. Sigurdsson is on. Gaij is on. These guys were brought on in the second half. They didn't start because Goncharenko never likes to rotate his teams for some reason. But by the way, going back to Lokomotiv, there is a chance, by the way, that Lokomotiv could
Yes.
still get third place. For that to happen, they would need Atletico to hold Salzburg to at least a draw or just beat them. And that, to be fair, Atletico could still lose out. So they would probably want to win that game. And Lokomotiv would have to beat Bayern. Now that sounds like an impossible task, but you have to take into account the fact that they played really well in the first leg, and that the fact that Bayern put out like their second team or their third team against Atletico. So you can imagine that they're going to really phone it in versus Loco. Like they had Choupo-Moting, 4 guys I've never heard of. Like who is RAMB? Who's Musiala? So it's not a proper team. Sarthak, do you think Lokomotiv still have a chance? Do you think they can advance to the
Even
third?
though I like them, unfortunately, no.
No. Artem, what about you?
No. They gave us so much hope. It started so well for
Yeah.
them, but they've just like this is the only game they really needed to do it, and they just
Yeah,
didn't.
they just didn't.
And that's the annoying part, isn't it? That out of
It
the
is.
3 teams, Loko was actually doing all right. I mean, they gave us hope, as Artyom said. And then the classic, as I guess you just said, that's Russian football.
It is Russian football. I mean, and after that, the next day we had 2 games, Krasnodar Ren, and we also had before that, actually, final word on Loko. Adam, what do you think? People are Lokomotiv, except Sarthak and except a few of the other guys we know, they still love Yuri Semin a lot, and they're saying that Nikolic needs to be sacked. Apparently, Kiknadze is going to leave as well. And what do you think of that? What do you think of Nikolic? What do you think of the entire merry-go-round that's going on there?
You know, it's always crazy in Locomotive because it seems like the manager doesn't matter as much as the people who are above. Like Locomotive have had a couple of changes in the last couple of years. Like, I think it was Smarotska who was there before. Now
Yeah,
they
yeah,
won
yeah.
a cup under her, but she was fucking terrible. Like, just ask Stefano, he'll go on a rant for years about it. Like, she was really bad. And then they got Ilya Gurkus, who was actually good. Like,
Yeah.
And then now, like, Kiknadze just seems like another Smorodsk guy, maybe even worse. So
Mhm.
get him out, put someone better in charge, leave Nikolic in charge for a while, see how it goes. And if he can't get into Europe, then get him out as well.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. It's always going to be because we have a lot of similar topics. Like we have the topic of maybe Rybaka leaving Zenit today. We have Gazizov leaving Spartak today. It's always, and that's the thing about Russian football, is that it's always going to be someone with ties to the government that actually runs the thing. So it doesn't matter who the sporting director is really. It doesn't matter who the manager is really. It's always going to be like Fedun or someone from RZD. Yeah, go on.
Can I just say, after a couple of DMs from Javier Ribalta, we'd like to just admit that he's the greatest director of football of all time.
Yeah, we will
And
get into that,
we
Adam. We
would
will get into that.
we would never criticize any of your decisions, Javier. We
Yeah,
love you.
we will get into that because that's a mad story. I didn't expect that to happen. We will get into that. But the most recent guy who could come into the Loko team is currently the president of FIDE, which is the World Chess Federation. That guy is apparently that Dvorkovich guy. He's apparently going to be the next board member or the next guy who's going to run Loko. Yeah, I saw that. And then, like yesterday, he
Well,
said that the
hopefully we'll get the moves right after that, at least the formation,
Hey,
right?
see?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, Hanu, then we can say for real that Locomotive are playing 4D chess.
Yeah, chess, not checkers. That's what they're playing. But
We need something innovative here. I think that's a good idea. Why not?
it is, but like, what if he's just one of those like netas? What if one of those politicians is just there because of who he knows? If he doesn't know
I
anything.
doubt it can get worse than 3-1.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean,
Yeah.
the state of that club is.
So we need something radical here. And I think it look, you never know. Maybe the guy actually loves football. Maybe he knows a lot. Maybe he'll make a difference. Or I just
that'd
don't
be
want to
really
believe that he's
interesting.
going to mess it up.
Did you see who was it? You know your man who's at the top of the chess rankings is Carlson? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said something like, I'm getting Lewandowski style chances and converting them at Firmino rates.
He is a huge football fan, to be fair. A lot of these chess guys are huge football fans. Like Carlson said that I would be a footballer if I wasn't a chess player. And he was like, yeah.
If he had the ability of a footballer, of course, that means.
Yeah, but still, yeah, he's the best in the world at something at least. So
That's
what a
facts.
yeah.
I'd be super down for like an experiment with someone from chess coming in, because clearly they have strategy. They think ahead, that kind of thing. But
No, but
I would love
that's
to
the
see how that translates into football.
oh, that's the thing you're missing though. That guy isn't a chess player. He's just a bloke, bro. Like, let me tell you who the guy is. He was a deputy. He's a public servant and an economist who was deputy prime minister in Medvedev's cabinet for 6 years. He's just the most government Russian guy you'll ever find.
Yeah, I mean, well, in
If
that
you,
case, does he even play chess? Even like, I don't know, at the
I don't
library
know.
or anything?
I don't know. He might. His dad was a chess referee though. Good
I
enough.
think the question is, does he play football?
I don't think
Nah,
so.
look at him. He doesn't play football.
He doesn't play football.
Nobody called Arkady plays football.
Sarthak, do you play chess?
Well, I can, but I wouldn't call myself good.
Do you play football?
Yes.
What are you better at, chess or football?
Badminton, let's put it that way.
Artem, what about you? What are you best at?
What am I best at?
I mean, football, chess. You played so many sports. You're a golf merchant. You're a paddle merchant. You're a tennis merchant. But
I'm
what's your
definitely best at football. Like, I played football for like 15, 16 years minimum. Like, I've only been playing all the others for like half a year since I'm not able to play football properly with my ankle.
Yeah, no, I would probably say that.
You know, I would have made it pro. You would have seen me in the RPL if it wasn't for my ankle injuries. And
We've definitely seen worse players in the RPL. I've never. Artem actually had a YouTube channel where he'd upload like football videos. We all had a phase, by the way, at least in my
we
era.
all had
In
a
our
phase.
era. I had a FIFA channel. Actually, whatever this is channel, it's actually my FIFA channel. It just got rebranded, and I took all my FIFA videos private. So there's another nice fact for you.
It'd be really
Um,
funny. In a couple of years' time, you could be looking back and saying this is a phase. Except hopefully not, but it could.
Definitely, it's possible. You could be saying it's a phase. We all could be saying it's a phase.
No, I need to get my Russian football fixed for the week.
Fair enough. Hopefully that stays with me as well for a long time. But Zenit Artem, what do we say about Zenit anymore?
We don't say about Zenit anymore. We don't ruin anybody's mood. This is meant to be fun.
3-0, man.
Well, it was fun for someone.
It was fun for Bruges. It
wasn't fun for anybody I know.
Yeah, it wasn't. Look at that, man. That's depressing. 4 shots, 0 on target, and this 12-year-old guy scored again.
I hate that guy so much.
He
He looks like the Hunchback of Notre Dame without the hunchback.
I don't even know who that is. That's just a funny name.
You don't know the Hunchback of Notre Dame?
No, why would I? Who is that?
Google it.
Yeah.
Not even typing. Wow. That's a film or something. Oh, this guy. Yeah, I've seen photos of him. I didn't know the name. I've just seen it in passing. But he does look like that, to be fair.
Exactly.
So, fair enough. But it's depressing. Zenit are out of everything. This is their worst ever performance in European football. They've never finished bottom of the table with 1 point. Even if they beat Dortmund, it's going to be 4. They've never been that bad either. And Sarthak, I remember you like tweeting a few weeks ago. It was like you should always trust Sergei Semak. Do you still stick with that? Because the people aren't trusting him anymore, bro.
Look, as you said just now, maybe it was a phase.
It's another good one. This guy's good. We got a good guest here. But
yeah, I don't know what to say because look, well, there's nothing much to say with the 3-0, right? Except, I mean, look, let's bore the people a little bit more with the stats. But yeah, I mean, if you look at basically the fouls, they had the same number of fouls, though total actions, Zenit had only 768, whereas their opponents had 829, right? And out of that, 79% successful for their opponents and 77% for Zenit. So basically, we're lacking a lot of we're lacking in successful actions. We're lacking in actions in general. And I mean, whoever watched the game pretty much understands what exactly we did with those actions.
It was bad. It was just Semak. I mean, I did a whole thread from RFN today, I think. You know what, Artem, let me know what you think of this argument, right? So the schedule is one thing that everyone's talking about, right? And if you look at almost every club in the Champions League, they're having problems with the schedule. I'm a Real Madrid fan. I'm so happy that this podcast is recorded on Thursdays and like on Fridays sometimes, because my mental state after the Real Madrid game is terrible. We lost again. We lost at the weekend. We've got Sevilla, Atletico next. There's a chance we play in the Europa League. There's a chance we don't play in Europe at all. So you look at almost every team in this chart, in this table, right? And they're all having a very inconsistent run of form. Adam, do you think we can put Zenit into that and maybe give Semak the benefit of the doubt? Or do you think that Zenit's problems are deeper and that he should just go at the winter break or now?
I mean, I don't think there's like, what's different about the schedule now and the schedule any other year?
Well, first of all, we didn't really have a mid-season break. Second of all, usually the Champions League games take place every second week. This time they're taking place just every week. There's no gap. That's the main thing. And
the mid-season thing you said, right? You realize in Russian football, there's never more than like a 2-week break for players. They always come back to pre-season straight away. Their big break is in winter.
Right.
Like look, don't get me wrong, there's always a month between the last game at least. At
Mhm.
least the last game and the first game of the new season or whatever. But like if there's an international tournament on or whatever, like players just won't get a break that summer because like Russian league comes back so early.
Yeah.
And it really is like at the winter, the players are going to get off from like the 16th of December and they're not going to play again until March. That's
Right.
their summer. That they all go to like Bali and all those hot countries, like all those hot places, lovely beaches, while everyone else is struggling in the cold. I don't think it's anything to do with the schedule. I think you could make that argument for like, I don't know, Spanish teams or like
Probably.
English teams or something like that. I don't think Russian teams really applies to it as much. That's
So
just my opinion.
no, that's fair. Sarthak, what do you think of this schedule talk? Do you think it's fair or do you think it's just an excuse?
It's an excuse.
Good
Yep.
answer.
But I don't want to be too descriptive about it or like too strict or not strict, but I don't really think that's the reason.
Yeah. So, Artem, are you Semak out?
Oh, to be Semak out, I feel like I'm going to need to know like at least some people who are rumored to come in after him because I don't want to get rid of him for the sake of getting rid of him and have no plan. I really don't like when clubs do that. I do think that his time may be coming to an end,
Yeah.
but I do wanna hear what options are on the table for Zenit next because, you know, if we're gonna have like just randomers here, there, and everywhere, or just like, you know, managers like Mancini who have had successful careers elsewhere but aren't really looking to, you know, take on a massive project for a long term, whatever. I don't want to hear
Mhm.
it.
That's fair. And that's the thing I said in the little RFN thread as well, was that you get him out, but you have to take into account that the squad morale is really good under him. You have to take into account that there's really no one else you could replace him with. And the thread I did, before we get to that, actually, Artem, if you could replace Semak with one Russian manager, any one Russian manager, but it has to be a Russian manager, who would it be?
Oh, I'm gonna get some hate for this. I think Leonid Slutsky is who I'd go for, purely because look, we'd forget how to defend, but it would be entertaining as hell. Like we'd score 5 goals every game and concede minimum 3, but it would be really fun.
Yeah, that's fair. I would go with Fedotov. You're gonna laugh at me. You're gonna cuss me out, but I would go with Fedotov because, like, who's the best Russian manager in the league? You would say maybe Slutsky, but look at what Fedotov. Fedotov or Talalayev for me, but I just don't think Talalayev would work at a really big club.
And Fedotov would.
I think Fedotov is the real deal. You're hating, but still,
I am hating.
you are hating. CSKA, by the way, are out of Europe. They are gone.
Congratulations!
Wow.
Woo!
They're out. We actually thought that they would have a chance because their what do you call it? Their group was not as hard, but they lost. I believe they've scored like 2 goals in 5 games. They're useless. They're just bad. Um, but I also want to talk about this game real quick. It's got nothing to do with Russian football, but look at how crazy it is, right? 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, and then this is like a football manager game. It really is. Between Lask and Spurs.
I've got so many questions about everything. How are Spurs drawing 3-all when players like Bale, Son, and Ali are playing?
Bale is trash.
What the hell is that second scorer's name for Lask? Eggstein.
Yeah.
And is that third bloke who scored for them related to the Celtic guy?
No, he's probably not.
He
But
might be.
Spurs are trash though. Look, Spurs have
That's
lost a
it.
game.
3-3, yeah.
That's it. The 3-3 is full time, but Spurs have already drawn and lost a game. And they might actually win the Premier League, but wait, did they win? No, they didn't. That's just a 3-2. They didn't.
I never
Or-
know. A goal could have got licked disallowed.
No, it's just full time. We're fine.
Okay.
But
I hope
yeah,
they win the league. That'd be cool.
that would be cool. Sarthak, do you follow English football much, or do you follow like any other leagues much?
Unfortunately, I don't get the time to.
That's fair. That's a good answer as well. Do you watch the ISL? Is the ISL even available there?
I'm actually not sure. I don't think so. We were trying to do something for ISL to open up the market in Russia to help them, but in the end, nothing really happened.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah, it's
IMG and Reliance. It's just another very Indian.
well, it's FSDL actually.
Yeah, it has.
Um, but yeah, but no, I don't think I can watch it here.
Mm.
And in any case, honestly, I prefer Russian football.
That's fair. I don't watch it either. I tried to one day, and I just didn't work out.
It is available for you though. So what's your excuse?
I don't like it.
Ah, fair enough.
It's just
Sarthak, here's a question. When do you think is going to be the first Indian to play in the Russian Premier League?
That's actually a very good question.
never.
Never, I would say.
That's what Hanu said, yeah. But I think in the next 10 years there's going to be one guy. Like, if there's any country in Europe that an Indian is going to play in.
No,
The
it's
thing-
not.
The
It's
thing
not.
is, even if you look at the activities that most of the clubs have in India, they always collaborating with either an organization in Spain or Portugal or Brazil
Yeah.
or the UK. I've rarely ever heard any collaboration with Russia, which is quite strange though, because
We're gonna
we have
do
a-
it, Sarthak. One day we'll get with Ranjit Bajaj and we'll make him buy a club in Russia.
look, Ranjit honestly would be the person to do it. If anyone can do it, he would probably do it. But yeah, actually, why not? How about this, Artyom? To prove Hanu wrong, I'll make it happen.
Yes.
You
Are you
will
saying?
be-
Are you saying you're going to play in the league? Or are you saying you're
No,
going to find someone to play
God,
in the
no.
league?
I'm gonna make it happen in the sense I'm gonna try and see if someone from India could actually do this. So I'm taking a
Okay,
note
big.
right now.
Get me involved. Make
I really hope that it's someone who, like, I'd love to see, like, think about how good it would be for both Russian football and Indian football if there was a good Indian playing in the Russian league.
Exactly.
even an Indian like owning a club. I don't know how bad or how tough investment laws are in Russia, but I can't imagine them being worse than India. So
It would be really, like, terrible though. It would be terrible if the first Indian to play in Russia was like Boris Rottenberg, just like the son of a billionaire who likes football.
Running
I
around the
don't
pitch with
care.
a
I would
gun. No, I don't think that's gonna happen.
no, but
I
I mean,
really hope.
Ranjit Bajaj, by the way, for our fans who just got really confused, and for Artem who got really confused, is a mutual friend of mine at Sarthak. He owns like one of the biggest football academies in India, cricket and football academies. He owned a football club which were Indian champions, but he sold his stake in that. And he's a guy who's doing a lot for Indian football when it comes from like the youth development perspectives. Really, really good guy. And we need to get him to buy Anzi or SKA Khabarovsk or something, Sarthak.
Yeah,
He
and the
just
guy
needs
is
to
on a
send some
mission.
of his best players over.
The guy is on a mission to take the Indian team to the World Cup. I mean, check out my talk with him. It's really interesting what his plans are. But what we're discussing now, was not in his plan. But perhaps it could
Yes,
be.
see. His thing is by 2034 he wants India to be in the World Cup. By 2035 we want an Indian to be in the RPL. Just add another like note to that.
Yes, or
That's
maybe
what,
earlier.
maybe
No, I
early.
think earlier. I think that the Indian in the RPL could push them towards the World Cup. Because the thing is,
Yeah.
you're gonna have good players to get into the World Cup. You can't just, like, okay, there have been good units that have made it into the World Cup, but, like, you need a couple of good players.
Sunil Chhetri
But
at the
see,
age of
with
57
Hanu
is
complaining about the cold, don't you think it's going to be really difficult for an Indian player to do well in Russia?
No, what they
Nah.
just need they need to go to Sochi or something like that. Look,
no,
the
but
games
there
is,
are, like,
the
even,
games
like,
in St. Petersburg are under a roof. It's 20
Yeah.
degrees in that stadium.
By
As
the
long as
time-
they're not playing in Oral, I guess they'll be okay.
yeah, and but like even then there have been like Iraqis, Jamaicans. India has Kashmir, which is colder than like India has cold places, man. Lucknow gets cold.
Yeah, that's true.
And Sarthak, you're gonna have some amount of content if an Indian player
Oh,
moves
yeah,
to
you-
Russia, because
Oh,
you
yeah.
know you can get in touch with them quite easily.
Yep. Well, if I
Only-
bring them here, then I definitely should be able to get in touch with them.
Yeah,
Well-
look, you need to set up an Indian football agency.
Yeah.
It's like, look, Hanu, who's that? Is it Seljuk who you keep going after?
Yes.
if he keeps managing to bring in players from like Guinea and like Central African Republic, like there's nothing to say we can't do that with a few Indians.
And we could. Indian people are like really resourceful and like crafty when it comes to those sort of dodgy dealings. So it's and by the way, if this happens, if Sarthak actually manages to get an Indian player, and it's because of this podcast, I think we deserve a cut of the fee, like the signing on fee or the agent fee or something, because that would be mad. Even though,
Sorry, guys, I dropped out again. I didn't hear anything to do with the fee or what we're discussing.
I'd settle for some match tickets.
Okay, we can make that happen. Yeah.
and a plane ticket. How am I gonna?
Well, Hanu, you said you wanted to go on the Trans-Siberian Express. Get yourself over to Mongolia or wherever the hell and go
Still
backwards.
give me at least a plane ticket to Mongolia. plane ticket to
Oh, the
Mongolia.
weather in Mongolia is mad for football. I mean, they have a really difficult time having a proper season and playing.
Have you been to Mongolia?
No, but I knew the ex-head coach from there, the goalkeeping coach, and yeah, most of the people would say, man, it's really difficult to play football here because we don't know when when we'll have the proper weather for a season.
They don't
There
like
could be a storm.
Mongolia is
That's
such a weird place though. Like there's no vegetation there. There's no. It's just
I always thought of it being like a rock or something.
it is almost. It's just like a rock in the middle, like between China and Russia, and there's nothing of use there. All due respect, it's like completely detached from the rest of the world. It's almost like I'm sure it's a good place, but you never hear about Mongolia ever. You never hear about Bhutan. You never hear about Central Asia. It's just one of those places that's just completely disconnected from like the modern world. In respect, but 51 minutes in, by the way, and we haven't even touched on Krasnodar.
Hanu, before we move on,
What?
do you think this is going to be, sorry, not Krasnodar, this is completely in a different direction, not even anything to do with Russian football, the usual. Do you think Kazakhstan would have a chance of like doing really well in the Asian, like what is it, the Asian Cup, or like getting into the World
Kazakhstan
Cup
were
if they?
until 1999 or 2000 they were part of the AFC, and then
Yeah,
they moved to UEFA. I think they were pretty good. They were well regarded, one of the best teams in Asia. I don't think they won anything because they didn't really have much time. But like the main thing is that if you become a part of Asia again, you would have possibly more success on the international stage, but then you would lose out the money of like European football, like the stuff that Astana and them get through UEFA.
yeah,
So
that's true too.
like because
But I'd
yeah,
almost think that like it's more important to play. Like, imagine Kazakhstan got to a World Cup at some stage. Would that not be a bigger achievement than like Astana or like Kairat or any of those teams? They're not getting past like the round of 32 in the Europa League or out of the group stages in the Champions League. Like that, it's probably never gonna happen. You know what I mean? So like, would it not be bigger
I
to go
guess so.
for
I guess
that
you
World
could
Cup?
you could look at Uzbekistan there because Uzbekistan have gotten really close to World Cups. They've just been very unlucky, and I'm
Yeah,
hoping that like 2022 is the one. I mean, it's fair because like Uzbekistan has an equal amount of players in Russia, right? You've got Shomurodov. Shout out Shomurodov. He scored for Genoa. Big player, best in the world. He is playing there. Um, so they do have a chance and they are developing. Sarthak, what do you think? What do you think of this UEFA AFC debate when it comes to Central Asia and stuff? What do you think are the benefits and
Well,
what do you think?
definitely, like Artyom said, like they probably would fare a better chance at making it really to the World Cup, or at least reach closer than they would, being a part of Europe. But money is a big factor there.
What would you choose if you were like the dictator of Kazakhstan and just had a say on this?
I honestly would stay where I am.
Yeah, same. I'd probably do the same, honestly. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there's just this weird, like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are like they have share a really long border. They're together, and Kazakhstan people are Asians. Kazakhstan is in Asia. Turkey
yeah.
is in Asia. Israel is in Asia. But just because
Turkey, like culturally in Asia, geographically in Europe.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Because all the time, like even with Azerbaijan is Asia. But whenever I think of it, my mind is catered towards like, are you UEFA or AFC or
Yeah.
whatever, and that's how my mind just works.
You
And
know what I
even with
absolutely don't understand?
what?
How is the border of like in Turkey? Have either of you been to Turkey?
No, I was
Yep.
in an airport once. I mean,
Okay,
uh,
right. Sarthak, did you cross the river Bosphor, the Bosphorus River?
No.
Okay, right. In Istanbul, when you cross that river, you're going from Europe to Asia, right?
right.
Hmm.
But that's on the Black Sea. Like that's way before even like Russia starts on the map.
Is it?
Um, yeah, it's oh Jesus, like it's almost on the border of Bulgaria. Like Istanbul is very on the west of your of Turkey. Sorry. But like then there's another border of Europe and Asia in Yekaterinburg,
Yeah.
Yep.
and it's like
I have a photo standing with 1 foot in Europe, 1 foot in Asia.
exactly. So like Hanu, you can see where Istanbul is there, right? That's Bulgaria. Like
Yeah,
it's right beside Bulgaria.
yeah,
Apparently,
that's true.
that's the like that little crossing is Europe to Asia. But then, like, look how
No,
far
because no,
Yekaterinburg
no,
is on the map.
Ukraine, because Ukraine is fully in Europe. The Ukraine is the largest country that's fully in Europe, so that's you're right. Yeah, but that's
No, you're
weird. I
right. I
didn't.
never thought about it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't really think about it either.
my wife's from Yekaterinburg. I've stood at that border of Europe and Asia. I've taken a photo. Um, yeah, that's way out, isn't it?
You know, another thing I don't get is Central Asia is 30 minutes ahead of India, like in terms of time zones, and you can
I don't, I don't
clearly
get
see.
who is even putting 30 minutes in time zones? Who is trying to be that specific?
That's India, 2.5 hours ahead of Moscow.
Yeah, and you know what? Even with India, India has one time zone for all of it, but the distance between this and this is like 2.5 hours in terms of time zone. So
Yeah.
it's just
Oh,
India, man. Things don't make sense in India. It's
it would
fine.
be so funny if Russia had one time zone instead of 11.
That would be that would be mad, honestly.
But can you imagine the logistical nightmare that any organization, even the RPL or any other league, has to go through to, make event happen across the
Yeah,
country?
no,
I
that's
I
know,
mean,
especially the
if you
lower
sit on
leagues.
a train from Moscow to Vladivostok, or even a flight that's 8 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
And
train
even
is
even
7 whole
like
days.
for example, in the FNL, a flight from Vladivostok to like Kaliningrad could bankrupt the club.
Yeah.
It did. It already did. Loots don't exist anymore.
Mongolia
But
looks so dead. It's
it
such
is.
a
It's
dead
there's
country.
nothing there.
Yeah, but see, 16 million. Okay, don't quote me, but I think something around 16 million people actually do have Genghis Khan's
Yeah,
well, part of
genes.
his genes. So we all have something. Well, most of us have something to do with Mongolia, don't we?
No, but I don't
Oh
think
no, don't get me
no.
wrong. Mongolia was cool back in the day with Genghis Khan,
Back
taking
in the
over the
day.
world and all that stuff. But like, that's so long ago. We can't just leave the country there for no
We need to
reason at
move it,
this stage.
Yeah,
bring them to Europe.
Artem might
Exactly.
Artem might be like a grandson of Genghis Khan. I don't think you and I are Sarthak. We're fully Indian, and
Yeah,
that's
like
Yeah.
he did like go through. I'm pretty sure like his what would you even call them? Troops, soldiers, whatever, passed through like the kind of southern part of Russia.
I'm
So
sure that
maybe.
they did.
But there is some statistic that's like don't like don't quote me on the exact percentage, but it's like
I'm gonna
sixty
quote you
percent
now.
of people in the world are related to him in some way or something like that.
All right, you know what? We need to do one episode on Mongolian football.
We do. Do you know
Yeah,
any Mongolians?
you know what? At this point, I'm thinking that we just start a podcast and just chat shit because,
That's what
like,
we're doing.
Let's
yeah, I know,
get back to football.
but
No,
that's
let's
that's
not
that's
get
what I
back.
mean. I feel like like at least we advertise this as a football podcast. At this point,
We haven't even gotten to the first victory in about 22 days, and we're not
well,
gonna.
look, Mongolia is important. You know what I also think is mental.
What?
How does Russia have a border with North Korea?
It's not mental. It's fine to me. I've gotten
That's
used to it.
mental. It is mad.
That's fine to me. You know what though? You know
Okay,
what I
fine,
don't
whatever.
like? You know those ancestry.com stuffs?
Yeah.
Like, I want to believe that I have some cool history where I'm originally from, like Uzbekistan, because the Mughal Empire originally, the Babur, like the guy who started it was from Uzbekistan. But
Mm.
like the truth is, I know for a fact if I do my genetic test, it's going to be 100% Indian, 0% anything else. And that's just boring to me.
I really
Like,
want to do one of those tests. I feel like I'd have an interest in one. But the only one fear I have is that if I'm like less than a majority Russian, my whole life is a lie.
that would be funny.
I'd
But
have like identity crisis.
Krasnodar, Sarthak Krasnodar won. They won a game.
Yes.
They did.
Now, finally,
Uh,
some good news.
Finally, some good news, and we've taken a whole hour to get to it. But Krasnodar, they're the only team that have won a game in Russia this season. The last game Russia won was that playoff game against PAOK, and Krasnodar ground out a victory against Rennes 1-0. Marcusburg with the goal, good goal to be fair. And this means that they will go to the Europa League round of 32. They'll be there. Artem, how far do you think they can get, and what would you like to say to the great city and the great players of Krasnodar?
They're going all the way, baby. And you're gonna owe me that €5. No,
Yeah.
I think that it depends obviously who they get. There's a few
Yeah, but
good teams who are they get to play the second place team from one of the groups, right?
I don't know.
Okay, well I think that's how it works. Anyway, I think they'll have a good chance of getting through to the next round, and then after that it's really down to the draw, I think. But it would be great to see them progress in some way, pick up some points for the coefficients, because this has got to be the worst year in Russian football, maybe history.
No, since last year. Last year we had zero clubs get to the knockouts.
Great. How do I
This is
even
actually
forget
a
that?
really good year. Taking
This
that
is a
into account.
really good year. This is
Really
great.
good year. But
Hey,
Real Madrid,
Lokomotiv still
yeah,
has
go.
a chance, right? Let's not
It
forget.
does. It does. And if they do, then I think that would be just. It's not gonna happen. But I mean, if it does, that'd be crazy. Um, Krasnodar, there's a chance Real Madrid play Krasnodar. That would be mad. I think we would lose. Uh, we would find a way to lose.
I
But I
don't
mean,
think Real Madrid could play Krasnodar. Not in the next round, anyway.
well, they will find a way to lose. That's what we do. I don't know how we won three Champions Leagues in a row, but let's not get started with that. Speaking of Krasnodar, they actually have a new sporting director, and I wouldn't care, but I looked a bit into this guy, and we were talking about there being dodgy agents, Sarthak possibly becoming a dodgy agent. This guy is a dodgy agent. He got arrested in Portugal. He owns a Portuguese club, and I looked at their transfer market. There were a load of like random Russian players going there over the past few years, and this guy got arrested in Portugal for like money laundering, um, and like tax evasion, stuff like that. Uh, Artem, I really like seriously want to ask you: what do you think this means for Krasnodar? Do you think like, and he's an agent. He's not got. He was at the club previously as a chief scout. That was like 9 years ago. But do you think like we should be worried about this? How Krasnodar might do off the pitch in the future, or do you think it's fine? We don't really need to care.
No, no, of course not. Like, who hasn't been arrested in Portugal for tax evasion? Um, I honestly I don't know anything about this guy. Like, except for what you've just told me, which obviously doesn't give me much hope. But at the same time, like to be honest, like Krasnodar is one of the only teams I really don't worry about anything that happens in the background, because Sergei Galitsky is just such a great owner. Like I
Right.
feel like he's got it all under control.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's it for Krasnodar, guys. Join us next week for the breakdown of their match against Chelsea. Okay.
Do you know the mad amount of love a Russian football club would get if they bring in an Indian? I mean, the number of followers, they just open a huge market for themselves.
It did.
That's the thing. Like you just honestly, it doesn't even have to be a good in. It can just be some guy who's like working in tech support somewhere. Just put him in a Zenit top and
It could
pay
be.
him €500
That's
a
me.
week.
That was me, though. I was the guy working. I did Zenit India for 2 years. They
Yeah,
could
but
have
you
given.
weren't. No, hang on. I'm not. I'm saying put him on the pitch.
Nah, see, that's that.
I'm saying
Disrespect. No.
Just take some Excel wizard, put him on the pitch for like 15 minutes in one game. Like,
Some cup.
like you have that market down.
That would be
Why?
amazing, though.
On a side note, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but why is Hrithik Roshan trending in India right now?
Fam, you don't know the stuff that trends in India. It's just
Okay. Anyway, let's not
anything
get
trends in
go there.
India. In India, the new trend is to just boycott everything.
Uh-huh.
So, like, if there's a scene in Netflix film that like the ruling party, because they might serve me with the season dishes later. They like to do that as well. They don't like it, then their IT cell just begins to. It's a joke, honestly, at this point.
Can I
Um,
just say, I like how like I'm not going to try and pronounce that hashtag with the Bollywood music thing, but I like how it's trending with goat.
it's some singer he released a song. I think I don't know. Uh, one day we'll do the India being a going down a dark path podcast as well. I feel like we've said a lot of things that could get us in trouble in this podcast, but won't because
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
yeah, the
All
instant
right, you know what? Back to Ribalta for a second, right? Hanu,
yeah.
I think you're being like, I keep saying this. I think you've been a little bit harsh with the 32 million wasted. I think that 20 million was wasted. I think that the rest of it was like Lovren is good signing.
That's what I said.
Kazayev was a good player to bring in.
It's exactly what I said. The club spent 32 million. Lovren has been good thus far, whereas Wendell has barely touched the pitch. Kuzia was let go before being re-signed. 32 million could have been invested in many better places.
But see that's where I disagree with you on though. I think 20 million could have been invested in better places, whereas 12
But
million was fine.
it still could have been invested better though.
I don't know.
All right.
Like
Sarthak, what do you
what was the opportunity cost of not bringing in Lovren, like, or bringing in Lovren? Sorry.
buying Jamal Tabidze?
Exactly. So there's no loss
You
there.
could have gone, come on, you could have gotten some Kazakh player I like or something. You would have done well.
We got
But
Jambulat.
bring in Chambula.
That can be your Russian name.
That could be my Russian name, honestly. It's a good name. It's a funny name. Sarthak, before we get off Zenit and in this, what do you think of the foreigner limit? Why, do you think there should be a limit on the number of foreign players that can be signed? What's your perspective?
Yeah, there definitely should be. I believe for a very simple reason that I believe football in itself, um, the club system is to strengthen the national team as well. There is a sense of responsibility. And if you have too many foreigners in a team and very little locals, I mean, national players, then you're not going to eventually elevate your national football level, right?
Artem, fight.
Okay. So I'm on the opposite end of my opinion is that there shouldn't be any limit because having a limit does not actually help Russian football, but rather hinders it because average players make a living off being average. Like no random like average Russian football player is going to leave Russia to go abroad or anywhere else because they have a career. Like name any like average Russian football player who's playing for I don't know Zenit or CSKA or Spartak
Yeah.
or any of those the teams that literally are just there because they're Russian and there's no one better. I feel like if you had a more, in business terms, a more competitive market, if Russians really had to work hard and compete to get into those teams, it would be better for everyone.
Maybe I see your perspective there. Um, but I think on this one we'll have to say agree to disagree.
I think that
But
we can like I think that there's a healthy mix of both. If there's going to be a limit, I don't think it should be as strict as it is now. At the moment, we're allowed to have 8 foreign players in the team. I think that
Hmm.
at minimum it should be 10. I'd like there to be 12, which would mean that there's still you have to have 6 Russian players minimum. You know, because squads tend to be 18 to 25 players. Like that means that there's at minimum 6 Russian players and at maximum 13 Russian players in the squad. And I think that's a healthy amount that doesn't make those average players overinflated in value. And it also means that there's always at least one Russian player on the pitch. If there's 10 foreigners,
You know
that
what?
is.
You know what though? You know what? I think a really simple way to do it is, even if you want to keep the thing in Russia right now is that you can only have a squad limit of 25 players, right? And then
Yeah.
that doesn't include like the youth players. But even by like the most, you're going to have about 27 to 28 useful players. Whereas in other leagues, there's sometimes there's 30. And if you just put the foreigner limit, just say that we're removing the cap on the number of players you can have registered, but you can only have 8 players in the match day squad, just 8 players on the starting 11 and the bench. That would also be a lot better, because then there's really no cap. You can leave a couple of players out. You can rest them out on a game to game basis.
I'd be down
Isn't
for that as well.
isn't Indian Super League doing a 3+1?
Indian Super, I don't even know what Indian. I mean, it's
In
honestly
Super League, are only playing 4 players on each team.
no, Indian Super League is,
all
yeah,
all
it's
foreigners.
Indian Super League has terrible foreigners like Gary Hooper and then them. But to be fair, Sarthak,
Hey, respect Gary Hooper.
you're like you're like you. I mean, how do I say this? You wouldn't be allowed in the foreigner. Like if you get what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is that if football was say transplanted to like the corporate industry, right?
Mhm.
Of course, it's very different because the economy and there's a lot of things. But if there was such a hard cap, and it probably still is, signing foreign people is hard. But the fact that you're, because in some countries you can't be from India and just assimilate yourself into the market, into the job market like this, and do so well. And if you just apply that same thing to footballers, like football is a meritocracy. Life is almost a meritocracy, right? And your merit has allowed you to be where you are right now, and ignoring what your nationality or whatever. Don't you think that has an impact, or is my parallel not as good?
No, you are right in some ways, but see, what I feel is there's still a sense of responsibility that a club has towards the national football system.
Right.
So if we easily let them just buy and bring in whoever they want with no limit altogether, or a very easy limit, then they won't work as hard to find those local gems, build them up, and bring them up to the national team. One and two, also from the fans' perspective, they need their local stars too.
I
Yeah,
think
Does
no,
that
look,
make
I,
sense?
I I completely agree with you, but I think that Russia is well capable of making better players. I think that the infrastructure needs to be improved, and it has been, um, philanthropically by like people like Slutsky and like even footballers of the national team. They're building stadiums and football academies and stuff in their own hometowns. Um, but I think that like that there's different ways that we can go about making the national team better other than putting a foreigner limit into the league. Like for example, like this is just like came straight to my head just now. Like if you had a system whereby like okay, if you have this many foreigners, you have to like pay a certain amount each year to developing football in the country, like goes towards football academies and things like that. That would also improve, the future of Russian football. Um, they're saying that, it is Russia and a lot of that money would probably go missing. But if you could make it work, I'd argue that that would actually be better than what they're doing with the limit.
I mean, yeah, that's one. I think you could also have you could like remove the limit on foreigners, but put in a limit where you have to have like Russian U23 players, 3 or 4 in the match day squad, just for good measure, just so clubs don't go overboard with it. Or you put like a minimum Russian quota or something like that. But
Yeah, like
I don't know,
what they do in England and Spain and stuff like that
is the homegrown quota, yeah.
yeah, exactly. You have to have a certain amount of players homegrown from the country and a certain amount from your club. And I think
Mhm.
that that would be enough to.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good system, which I agree with.
Yeah, see, now that would like it doesn't have like a limit. Like there's no limit on it. It's just a minimum you need to have. I think that would be nice.
Exactly. That's the thing. Even like the word limit is just like
Negative.
it's not a good word. Yeah, exactly. It's a negative word. That you can't have any positive associations to the word limit. Like if someone limits you to do something, you're not going to be happy. Doesn't matter what it is. Like even
See
if you
now,
have like
It could
see
keep you
this
safer, right? When we talk about the speed limit,
exactly.
for example.
Yeah. See. Last week I told Artem that what was the word? I said I think it was perennial or something. And I said that Artem, there's no way that this word doesn't sound good. And he then said something like, no, perennial torture sounds bad. I'm going to do the same thing. Like a speed limit. There are ways to make a limit good, just for the sake of argument. But I get what you're saying. So
no, but the thing is, it's still a negative association. Like for I don't know, kind of you don't drive. Sarthak, do you drive?
yes.
Nope.
Oh wow.
No.
I'm
Okay.
like the Bentley from the conference. I don't drive either.
Okay. Right. So, like, for example, there's some really, really stupid speed limits. Like, for example, like in most places around where I live, it's like, 60 kilometers an hour, which is actually a fair speed. Like, it's not too fast. You're not going to be like you can slow down. You're not going to be crashing into people, whatever. Some places you're driving through and it's like 30. And like nobody goes 30, everybody goes 50, and it just pisses people off to even see those signs. You know what I mean? Like speed limits in general, yeah, sure, you shouldn't be going 160, but within reason. Look at Germany. Like on their autobahn, there's not really a limit. It's just like, yeah, just
Artem,
go whatever you can handle.
you need to come to India and drive.
I do not want to do that.
No, I'll pay you. I'll come to India and drive.
I
Sarthak,
would.
you've seen Indian roads and Indian traffic. I know you have.
You know
That's
what?
one of the main reasons why I don't drive.
It, that I completely get, and I'm sure living in Russia doesn't help either. Like I'm sure whatever you get in a I don't know, Yandex taxi or something like that, you always have a few crazy rides.
Oh, it's
But
nothing in comparison to India, to be honest.
really,
It's
Yeah.
just living and being born in India builds character. Like you will see things that no one in any other country will see.
yeah, no, I
Driving at
wouldn't.
running and driving at insane limits as well.
It's just there's pigs and stuff on the street in India, man. Like that just prepares you for any possible calamity in the world, right?
Oh,
So
we have sheep and cows and stuff like that if
no,
you go
you
to
don't
certain
have it.
places. But it's not the same. Like, look, I'm not complaining. I'm not comparing driving in India to driving in Ireland. It's not the same. Ireland is extremely safe for driving. We don't we have a few idiots, but the level of idiocy is, I can say, 100 times less than Russia or India.
Yeah, for sure.
But look, I'm not saying I'm not saying speed limits are a bad thing, but the word limit is not a good thing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, just back to the foreigner limit. I think that having a quota of homegrown players is way better.
I would
Like, for
agree
Makes
with
sense.
you.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. So we're all in agreement there. I think that would be the more progressive way to look forward,
Yeah.
and move forward with Russian football.
By the way, I'm gonna have a blast creating timestamps for this video tomorrow. We have
Oh my
discussed
god!
so many
I
things.
honestly don't know how you're gonna do that, and I hope I'm not the culprit here. But
You know what the funniest thing is? The funniest thing is gonna be Krasnodar for 30 seconds. Like random Mongolian shit.
No,
And then back to
for an
Krasnodar.
hour,
I might just
Driving
say
in India.
I might just say no speed limit. It's a surprise. Have fun. Not speed limit. What am I saying? No timestamps. No timestamps. Sorry. No
Oh,
timestamps. It's all a surprise. Have fun. And we're not even
yeah,
gonna
it's sort of like Russian football, right? You don't know what to expect.
exactly. You don't know what you
you
expect.
know what?
And
Sartak, you should have you should bring this thing into Sport Rex where like you can like spin a wheel and it just lands you in a random part of the video, because that would be great for our videos. Like you just start listening at a random time. Oh, like I got 25 minutes today. Let's see what they're talking about. Oh well, Mongolian mountains and borders on Europe and Asia.
Yeah, we're going Joe Rogan here.
Exactly.
I'm going Joe Rogan here. We're the double
We're the
Indian.
Joe Rogan of Sport Rex.
We're the Joe Rogan of sport. Next best thing. By the way, this is a couple of tidbits because I actually have a really funny story to read, even though we're an hour and 20 minutes in. I promise it's worth it. Mario Fernandez, by the way, was awarded the Gentleman of the Year title. Congrats to him. Thank you very much for that.
Respect.
Respect, yeah. The nominees were Jikia, Norman, and him. I would have voted Norman. No particular reason. And Jikia is a gentleman.
Was it Cheeky?
I don't know. I didn't make the list.
That's an interesting one. I wouldn't have thought it was him.
Fam,
Anyways.
Zuba won it one year.
Oh yeah, I know. You can only win it once.
So So
Anyway, he wasn't going to win it this year after that video came out.
Yeah, no. Then there's this thing that I just really wanted to laugh at. This bloke, whoever he is, says that the RPL needs 24 clubs. It somehow has more likes than it has dislikes. This is the craziest thing I've read in my life. He's saying the RPL needs look, I don't even read Russian. I know this is mad. 24, 12, 12, 6, 6, 6, 6. What is that? What is this? Why? Like, we just want the limit removed. We don't want this. We don't want whatever this is, man. Like,
You said the thing.
yeah, I know I said the thing, but Sarthak, this looks scary, doesn't it? Just looking at this chart.
Ooh.
This guy's wife hasn't had sex with him in 5 years.
Like, no, like just like imagine like going one day and just searching Russian league table and having to go through this just to find out who's in the relegation zone. What? I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Adam, what do you think of Gazizov leaving Spartak?
Oh, is it confirmed yet? Because last week I said
It's almost confirmed, man. Look, everyone's saying it. Tedesco's happy that it's happening. It's Gazizov.
Tedesco's happy it's happening.
Yeah, look at the screen.
That's interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm kind of surprised at that. I thought Tedesco would be not so happy about that, but maybe I'm missing something. I mean, he's clearly a very talented guy who knows his stuff. So I'll be interested to see where he goes next. I'll also be interested to see how Spartak do after he leaves. Like, I don't know. I thought he'd been doing a great job, but apparently not.
Yeah, you know what? We almost found out like the reason behind it, and that's because that Gazizov was doing some transfer gymnastics behind Fedun's back. So what happened was Fedun allotted a certain amount of money for some player, and these guys, Spartak's chief scout and Gazizov, didn't want to sign that player. So what they did was that they told UFA they got another club to bid for that player, so that the selling club would look at the artificial demand and then increase the price, so that Fedun couldn't pay that money anymore. So it's just it's 4D chess. It really is.
That also sounds highly illegal.
It is definitely illegal because this agent said that the same guys who represented Spartak represented UFA for like when they wanted to talk about the transfer. It's definitely illegal for sure.
You know what? I rate the craftiness. Like it takes a man with real like
determination.
Yeah, determination is a good word for it. It takes a man with real determination to do something like that. I respect it.
But then you can't be mad if you get fired.
No, you can't be. But I also like I feel like if that's the case, if that's the reason he's being fired, clearly he's only being fired, like almost as a statement, almost like you can't come in here and do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. It's Sarthak, what are your thoughts on this weird whatever it is? Honestly, I don't even know.
No, I agree with Artyom there. Really, if you can't be mad, but yeah, you can't really do whatever you want and then expect for everything to work out.
Especially when it could get you in trouble with FIFA if like they found out that this is what's going on, and if the deal went through, it could be a real issue. Next,
he must have been really determined.
He really must have been just not afraid of the law, just proper daredevil stuff. Now, the last thing I want to discuss today, and I want to read out, is Artem. We used to read interviews a lot on this podcast, right? It's just interviews with like Korean guy Hashimoto and them. This week I've got a whole story. Andre Arshavin, we talk about him a lot on this podcast. The Athletic, shout out to the Athletic. They did a whole interview, a whole article about how crazy Arshavin's move to Arsenal in 2009 was. and it is crazy. Let me tell you, it includes Guy Ritchie, it includes the FSB. Like there was a whole war going on inside Zenit. One camp wanted to sell him, one camp didn't. Arshavin was mixed up. The agent got mixed up with some like proper bad eggs. The It's just an utterly insane story, one that is best described by the Athletic. Artem, did you know how mad like that Arshavin's transfer was this mad?
No, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. I didn't even read the article.
Yeah, but I did, and it was insane. So basically, the I'm going to read some quotes from Arshavin because Artem, you know how Arshavin is, right? He's
I love that guy.
he's just Arshavin.
He's just
He's like
Arshavin. That's the only way to describe him.
he's like Michael Scott, but Sarthak, have you watched The Office?
No. I haven't
Oh
actually.
my god, I'm
He
so
hasn't watched
jealous
The
of you.
Office, man.
Are you gonna kick me out of this?
No.
Call?
No,
okay.
because you have maybe the best 1,500 hours or whatever it is of your life ahead of you.
No, but you need to watch it. It is great. It's
The second positive thing about today, besides the Krasnodar win.
yes. See, we're a wholesome podcast as well. Um, so this is actually a 19-page article, and I like this is worth subscribing to the Athletic alone for this article. This is not an ad, but it can become an ad. If Athletic you're listening, be sure to hit us up. But basically, it starts in like 2007 when Arshavin, this random agent guy, gets a call from some Russian people, and they said that we know who you are. We want to talk to you about Arshavin. And for the next 2 years, he's sort of involved. He keeps getting threats. The agent, he finds out that he had like a long lost family member with the same name that he didn't know existed, and he was also a football agent. It's absolutely mad. And Arsene Wenger is in this, our ex-Arsenal manager. But I just want to
Future Russia
describe
manager.
future Russia manager and the director of football. So let me just let me just read a few quotes from this. Uh, Apologies for the dead air. Artem, talk about something. Just to say anything.
You know, this has probably been the weirdest episode we've had.
Probably one of the best though, if not the best.
It's one of the like I don't think I've enjoyed an episode more than this episode. I'm not gonna lie, but like it's just I can't imagine what kind of mess the listeners are gonna go through.
well, at least I'm gonna come back and listen. So just to
Yeah.
understand what
No,
exactly happened.
you're gonna come back and be a guest every week
Yeah.
during the winter break. You're the guest because we have had so many topics, and the winter break there's nothing to talk about. Right?
I
I've
feel
found
like I feel like it's gonna be a case of like someone will accidentally skip 10 seconds. They'll be like, "There's no like," they'll just be like, "Hang on, what?" Like they'll start skipping.
Why
They're like,
are
"Oh, I
we
must
on
have
the
skipped 10 minutes or
Mongolian map?
something."
Yeah. But anyway, right? I found it. I found the parts that I want to talk to. So this agent is a guy called Lacter, Dennis Lacter,
Yeah.
and we're in about 2008, and this guy gets a call just out of the blue. He's in Ghana. He gets a call, and this random Russian bloke says, "Listen, do you have something for Arshavin?" And the agent flips out. Listen, what the fuck is going on? I made several offers to his agent. He told me he doesn't want to go anywhere. There is too much Andrei Arshavin in my life. And then he told the caller that if Arshavin wanted to speak to him, he should ring him personally. Then Arshavin did. Arshavin says, I know who you are, and I will be brief. I want to play abroad. Can we do something? And then after that, the whole thing happens. He talks to the KGB. Once an officer came to my house in Moscow, and this guy is like half Russian as well, by the way. Once an officer came to my house in Moscow and said, You're invited to meet the FSB. I thought it was a friend making a joke. Then he showed me official identification, and they took me to the former KGB office. I was sitting there for 2 hours. Nobody came. There was just a camera that moved every time I turned my head to the left or the right. After 2 hours, one guy came in and said, Dennis, we know you've been living abroad for a long time, but we have a very specific gesture in mind. We would like to keep Andrei Arshavin in Russia. When I went there, they took my belt, they took my laces away from my boots, they took my telephone and everything. They told me they knew where my mother lived and they wanted to make sure she was okay. and that I should think before I do anything. So already you're in real serious territory over a footballer. And Sarthak, you might have to go through all of this when you're trying to get the Indian guy, by the way. So like it
Yeah.
could
What, the Indian KGB or?
both.
Okay.
Why not both? Um, the next is when Arshavin was playing in Zenit's game against Marseille. Arsene Wenger was there. The agent sat down, and Arsene Wenger said, "This kid looks like Babushka, but plays like Maradona." About Arshavin, and after that, after this game, Arshavin played really well, and then Wenger said that, "Nah, we can't pay for this guy. He'll be too expensive," and Barcelona will come in for him. Then Barcelona come in, and a bid for Arshavin is rejected, and Arshavin is really sad, right? So they're in a room, and the agent says, Arshavin was absolutely destroyed. He had always held Zenit in the I'm not Barcelona in the highest regard, and it was his dream to play for the club. He had envisaged himself playing for it since he was a little boy. He was absolutely destroyed when he heard the news. He stopped talking. He was sitting on the carpet like a little baby, looking like a mummy, not moving and saying nothing. Which is Artemis. It's very Arshavin, isn't it? After that, which is the best part. Where is it? Where is it? Right. 1 second. More dead air. It's fine. Artem, say something.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Half your story cut out there for some reason. You just sounded like a robot. Like I
Come on.
no look, I got the gist of it, but I was just like, I don't want to say anything just in case it ruins the story, because it's probably recording fine on your end.
Right. Wait, hold up. The last bit, because it's the most Arshavin thing in the world, right? So this is on deadline day. There's a snowstorm outside, and the deal is nowhere near completion. This is deadline day 2009, and here's the situation, right? So the agent says to Arshavin that we need to get the contract right, and that we because without that it's not going to happen. So he says, Andre, look, I've come to know you well as anybody else inside this room. If it's money, if it's just about money, then you have to go back to Zenit because it's not going to work for you. But if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to be the global Andre Arshavin, who is known all over the world, you want to play in the Premier League and push yourself at this level, then you make the move. This is your opportunity. If you say no now, then you go away and you have your very nice life in Russia. But you'll always have that doubt where you wake up every morning and say, what if? I wonder what would have happened. You've always wanted to play in the Premier League. Well, there's a price you have to pay for that, and that is your choice. Andre got up from the table, said, I'm going to watch tennis, and walked out of the room. And after that, eventually they managed to get the deal done. They had to hide him in the trunk of a car, take him to Paris, dress him up like some other. It's an amazing story, it honestly is. But that was that. You guys got anything else? We've been on somehow only for an hour and 35 minutes. Artem, you got something?
Yeah, we can go for a marathon here.
We can.
Just keep thinking of topics. I'm sure there's some other geographical stuff, some India stuff.
Sarthak, what do you want to talk about?
I'm gonna retire though.
You're gonna retire?
Yeah. From the session today.
But it's been a good episode. It's been the best episode for me personally. And Sarthak, thanks for coming on.
Look, it was my pleasure. I really had a fun time as well. Apologies in advance for all the hate messages you might get in the comment section for bringing me on tomorrow, or today. But yeah, it was fun.
Any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, and please tell everyone in the office to listen. We need all the views we can get, and we will definitely have you on for future episodes. Artem,
whenever there's a win.
You want to sign off, Artem?
Yeah, sure. So Sarthak, once again, thank you. Anybody listening, thank you for listening. If you've actually made it through the whole episode, That's actually quite unbelievable. So leave us a comment, let us know that you did that. Leave a gold medal on Sportrex, like on YouTube, drop us a comment on a reply or anything on Twitter. We're always happy to talk to everyone. So we'll see you all next week.